Emery's coming into the football club. Do you not think they're asking, look, what do you think of us here? Do you think we should sign? Do you not think he's part of that process? I mean, not publicly he's not part of it, of course, but such a massive decision to sign Mesut Ozil, one of the best creative players in the Premier League, on 300 grand.
Wasn't that pre-Unai Emery though? And that for me was a knee-jerk reaction by the Arsenal board, given Alexis Sanchez's decision to walk away. They thought, well, we've got to keep hold of one and make this ridiculous offer to Mesut Ozil.
And it's just gotten worse under
That's proved to be a weight tied around Unai Emery's neck.
But he's the coach of the team. He's the manager of the team. What is he doing about it? Seemingly nothing.
We're trying to shift him, but nobody's going to sign Mesut Ozil.
Nobody's going to. Number one, they don't know what his fitness level's like. What's his mental state like? Because we haven't seen this guy. He's gone from absolute kingpin to what's going on. We're all scratching our head. What's going on?
I disagree here, Paul. I think Unai Emery can't play him. Listen, he's not fitting in. He doesn't do the defensive duties that he wants. And just to shoehorn Mesut Ozil into this team in an effort to sell him, I think it's cutting off your nose to spite your face.
But he's not fit though,
Shaq. Do you sacrifice?
He's not fit though. Look, if let's say the back four is not what we would like it to be, right? We still think he's got to do some work there. So if you've got that, why don't you protect with the best two guys in the football club, Torreira and Ramsey? Ramsey's apparently out of the building now, right? Or he's going to be in the summer. So that's point number one. So tactically, I think, hang on a minute, what's going on with this guy? If he's the manager of the football club and he wants to play a 10 with those two strikers who need supply, you've got Mesut Ozil and Aaron Ramsey, who's a box-to-box player. I just scratched my head a little bit about some of the tactical decisions and some of the players that he's plugged in to those positions. It makes me wonder a little bit.
We're lucky that this season we have so many storylines going on in the Premier League right now that I feel like Arsenal have sort of slipped under the radar. I mean, whether it's from the Mourinho story to just Jurgen Klopp leading Liverpool, having them absolutely flying, Manchester City always in the mix, Mauricio Pochettino and Spurs, that we quite haven't really touched on Unai Emery and what he's been doing so far at the Arse, as Matters would say. So my question is, do you think that he's not really being pressured, or he's not under as much pressure as the rest of the managers right now?
Well, it's a fact of life that with all the stories that have been out there, there's only so much you can put in the press. We obviously talk about it on our show fairly often, but no, he has gone under the radar. But that doesn't hide the fact that amongst all the Arsenal fans, faithful, there's no doubt that he's under pressure. Every single man is under pressure.
I don't think he's under an awful lot of pressure. I think he's flown under the radar for a couple of reasons. One, he took over the hot seat from a man who's there for some 22 years, and he took over a club that finished, sixth last season? And even so, even as you compare and contrast that to the other clubs and the other managers, there's not a whole lot to boast of in their recent history. You could talk about Mourinho and Manchester United. Manchester United are Manchester United. City and Liverpool finished, Liverpool got to the Champions League final. City, given their spending, are expected to finish top every season. Similarly with Liverpool. Spurs continue to punch well above their weights. Chelsea, as disappointing as they were last season, the season before that, they were champions. You look at all those and you kind of put Arsenal up against them, and you're not quite sure that Unai Emery is working with a similar stature of club.
Julian, there was a lot of apprehension from you. I saw it on the night before the game as to what might become of PSG. We heard your colleague Gab Marcotti suggesting Manchester United might even win the Champions League, but it proved to be very different, didn't it? Did the manner of their performance and victory surprise even you?
Yeah, I was surprised by the gap. I didn't think there would be so much difference in terms of class, in terms of control of the game, in terms of a lot of points between the two teams. I thought it would be far closer than that, especially at Old Trafford. And I think Thomas Tuchel got a lot of praise, and rightly so, and credit for getting everything pretty much right, to be fair, from his game plan and tactically, the way he motivated his players, the way he's made that team play as a team as well, and even with that Cavani and Neymar, making them do everything exactly perfectly to win that game so comfortably and in such a manner as well, with Marquinhos, who is, I think Marquinhos sums up perfectly what Tuchel has done in Paris so far this season, being able to transform him from a centre-back to a defensive midfielder in the way he did, with the result that Marquinhos, for example, showed on Tuesday night, I think was sensational, and I think Tuchel, rightly so, deserved a lot of credit.
All the attention on Maurizio Sarri ball, the inflexibility. There's been some links in recent days with a certain Frenchman, Zinedine Zidane. What can you tell us about any likelihood of him coming into the fold?
Well, I think we need to see it from his point of view, in the sense that would this be a project that interests him? I think the idea of coaching in the Premier League, in one of the big clubs in the Premier League, of course, is appealing to him. There's a few issues though there. The language, and we talked about it before when he was linked with Manchester United as well. Zinedine Zidane, he's a manager who works a lot on man management. You know, they're not all like this, but he's very much like this. And the language, he doesn't speak a word of English. I think he would see as a problem to get his message across the players, but also the way he managed all his players, all his dressing room, to make everybody feel important, for example, like he did in Madrid. That would be an issue. The fact that he won't like the lack of stability at Chelsea, with managers coming in and coming out very regularly, 2 years for Conte, maybe even less for Sarri, for example. That's something that he doesn't really like and enjoy, that kind of spirit, if you want. So there's a lot of things that I'm not sure he will be so keen on. However, Chelsea is a huge club, and he will obviously be interested in a big club, and the Premier League is a league that interests him very much.
Ali, I think Zidane's going to be linked to every big job that comes available until he takes his next job, isn't he? Can you see this at all?
No, I don't, because you look at what Chelsea has done and is doing right now, and who is my best player? If I'm sitting in Zidane and I'm evaluating a team, who's my best player? Well, that's Eden Hazard. Is he even going to be in the team? So why would I want to be part of this when my best player is walking out the door? And there are issues in this team that I think go deeper than that. When you have a team that one day looks great and the next day looks awful, something is there to be said about the manager, and we certainly have spoken to that in length, but there's something to be said about the players too. Players that go from winning a league to then tanking the next year, to then playing well the year after that, but then the year after that, again, they go and tank it again. There's an inconsistency about this group that would call for an overhaul. And if you're Zinedine Zidane, the last thing you want to do is walk into an overhaul, because the expectations are going to be you're going to win right away. You don't win right away with an overhaul.
Paul, let's get on to some BATE Borisov. Promised you that. They hadn't played in 2 months. Arsenal went there and managed to lose by 1-0. We'll still feel they're in good shape to get through, but should they be they have to take this competition seriously, don't they?
Look, it's all right saying, look, they'll roll over BATE Borisov in London, and they may well do that, but they've been beaten today by a poor team.
Who hadn't played in 2 months, by the way.
They've had all the possession, all the fancy stuff, put the stats up, whatever you want to do. They hit the target, I think it was a couple of times. It's just not good enough. You know, we're talking about Sarri. At the moment, Unai Emery's really going underneath the radar. He's sort of just dodging, he's behind the trees a little bit, this guy. Because any other side, if that was United or was any other top side in England, we'd be absolutely going after it. Oh, it's okay, Arsenal, they'll bring them back to the Emirates and they'll win. So I'm sorry, this is not good enough. They've got to pull the socks off, they've got to get the system sorted out, he's got to sort the defence out quickly.
Icardi, Julian, is really hit the headlines, stripped of his captaincy, didn't even travel to Vienna. His sister seems to be involved. There's some social media posting going on. What is going on with Icardi?
Yeah, it's a big chaos, it's a big mess, basically. His wife, who is also his agent, appears on Italian television every Sunday. She's part of a TV show, and every week she talks about the club, usually in a negative way. And last Sunday she said that basically the problem was that Mario Icardi doesn't get the service that he needs to shine. That's why he hasn't scored for 7 games, which is his longest goal drought since he joined Inter. And obviously those comments didn't go down well at all in the dressing room first. That created a lot of tension between Icardi and some of his teammates, but also at the club. And the club asked Icardi to to back the club, basically, and against the words of his wife, he refused, so they stripped him of the captaincy, like you said, and gave it to Handanovic, which after someone like Borisov, for example, liked a few tweets about the change of captain, which again, you could just imagine the mood and the atmosphere in the dressing room if one of your players is actually happy that there's a change of captain. And yet then to process the bad news, Mauro Icardi decided not to travel to Vienna when he'd been called up by Spalletti into the squad. And on top of that, there's obviously all the trouble around his contract. He put in a transfer request in January. He clearly doesn't want to be at the club anymore. So I'm not sure where this one is going, but it sounds like the next few weeks and few months until the end of the season are going to be pretty bad for Mauro Icardi and the club.
I was going to ask you where it was going to go. Under contract till 2021, always linked to Real Madrid and Chelsea. Do you think he stays at Inter?
I don't think so personally. I think he wants out. I think someone like Santi Solari, if he stays at Real Madrid, would be very keen to get Icardi at the Bernabeu, for example. But we've seen it before. We've been in that situation before where there was huge tension between Icardi and the club, Icardi and the rest of the dressing room. And you know, they dealt with it, they coped with it, and he came back and was great again for Inter. So it might still be there. However, this time it seems that it's pretty worse than usual.
Now then, last but very much not least, well worth the wait today, Shaka Hislop's power rankings. Hot off the press, what you got for
What could possibly go wrong?
In 10,
take
Napoli.
5.
Comfortably in second in the Serie A despite the draw of Fiorentina on the weekend. Bayern are back in.
What? You draw, you remain in the top 10? Is
Yeah, but they continue to fly high in the Europa League. They're comfortable, I mentioned that. Not so comfortable, Dortmund. Dropping points in the league. Hammered in the Champions League.
One bad
In
result.
at number 7.
You got to speed it up, Shaq.
Real Madrid. Where's they gone?
They're at the bottom.
I found them.
Real Madrid can't stop winning.
This is not going to
Bayern
work.
at 6. Come on down.
That's
This
the
is
bottom
not
half.
going to work.
Come on down.
Top 5.
Hurry up.
Barcelona in at 5. They drew on the weekend as well in the league.
5.
Liverpool in at 4th.
Yeah.
Third, PSG after
Are you
that
making this up
result.
as you go, Shaq?
Juventus 2. And
look
then
at that.
still top of the tree.
Hey.
Manchester City.
Where's Man United?
No, Man United.
There's not an argument from the gallery.
Manchester United. What are they?
They're 11th.
A Thursday edition of Extra Time, always amongst our favourites, isn't it, Ali? I know you look forward to it.
What?
Europa
What's so
League,
special about
Extra
Thursday?
Time.
I look forward to Shaka's power rankings.
Hey.
Those, even by his standards, those were special today.
Yeah, if you didn't see the show, check which we had to wait for, by the way. We were denied those power rankings till the Europa League results came in.
The first take was
World
outstanding.
class.
Yes.
Outstanding.
Yes.
Probably couldn't make the show because it was so great. It was a different level entirely.
Julia Larolle is also with us. Julia, why don't you take this first question first yourself? It comes from Mr. Goonalicious. Mr. Goonalicious. If you were a billionaire businessman,
Which he is.
yes, other than the top 6 clubs in the Premier League, which club would you choose to invest in to make them a Premier League contender or a Champions League contender? Who would you put your billions into, Julien?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I think I'll go for Newcastle. I think I could get a good deal from Mike Ashley to, get the club not on the cheap, but for a good amount of money. And I think with the fan base they have, with the structure they have on as well, I think I could do a pretty good job there.
No arguments from you.
Leeds.
Short in that. Yeah, I was going to say Leeds too.
I'd invest in Leeds.
Yeah.
Who are you kidding? Who are you kidding?
Well,
Who are you kidding?
Just saying.
Come on now. Come on now. Who will you invest in?
Leeds.
No, you would not.
He's got his businessman hat on.
Yeah, that's right.
Famously known in Newcastle.
I don't allow my business investments to
Your
be
loyalties aren't
to be influenced by my passions.
I would say Leeds too. You could probably get them pretty cheap. They are dormant. You remember the great Leeds
Absolutely.
teams,
I played against them. That's how old I am.
You still got the bruises from them.
Are you kidding me?
Come on. You're not letting him off, are you?
No. He
think
knows
he has
he's
to say-
investing in Newcastle.
Yeah.
Or West Ham.
Why did he say?
No.
But
No.
nobody.
He's well known in
I'm
Newcastle.
a businessman.
Right.
Are you?
He knows to get more bang for
Shaka,
his
you've
buck.
just upset a lot of people.
I'm a billionaire businessman. Leeds is where I get.
I had to say, if I'm a billionaire businessman,
All the
not
new
sure I'm putting my money in any of this team.
Yeah. I put it in my son's under 11 team.
Yeah, yes.
Popcorn for
Paul,
everybody.
I know which way you'd probably turn. I don't know for sure. Would it be Ipswich, or would you go in a different direction?
Ipswich is so far off the pace these days.
They need your billions,
They need
really.
billions
They need-
and billions. I mean, they're rock bottom in the Championship. I don't know. It's maybe Villa. I mean, I'm just thinking about a big club, you know, that can draw.
That
Yeah.
have known glory years
Villa.
that could come back.
Maybe Villa.
Clubs that already have a big fan base.
Yep.
Villa certainly.
And potential as well. They could grow.
Yeah.
All right.
You're staying out of this, though.
Barnet?
You're not.
What about Barnet?
Kitty Minster.
There you go.
Minster.
There you go.
Excellent.
Yep.
The Harriers will rise with Moreno's billions.
Well, I'm telling you, my billions are not going anywhere near any of these teams.
How many billions would it take to get Swindon flying?
Oh, God.
Come on, Ed.
More than the US Treasury currently has. Did Neymar, says David, re-injure his foot celebrating Mbappe's goal? Julia, we showed this clip during the show. He was certainly seemed to be pretty mobile, dancing a lot, celebrating. Might he have retweaked it, celebrating the goal?
Yeah, I mean, and the best thing I think was on the first one, he had his one of his physio doing a massage on the foot, and then he obviously jumped out of the sofa, and the physio probably thought, "Oh, come on, man! I've just spent like an hour, you know, massaging your foot and doing all that treatment, and now I'll have to do it again." So yeah, but it was good to see that kind of spirit from Neymar.
Yeah. Nice celebration, wouldn't it?
Well, at least he stayed on his feet.
Yeah.
Bob-omb.
Physio probably tried to tackle him, but
He wasn't on his feet to start with.
no.
He
He actually got on his feet.
Yeah,
he was already down. He was already in the horizontal position, and actually went vertical.
But when he was celebrating, he was doing one leg celebration. That was what was
Yeah.
happening. Yeah. All right. But okay, and it's a respectable job. I'm not pointing the finger at it at all whatsoever. Somebody's got to do it.
Right.
Like going massage Neymar's feet. Come on now.
Dick is the provider of our next question. Dick Taylor, who says, should N'Golo Kante speak out against being moved from the position in which he was extremely successful? Should he speak out?
No, that's
Should
not.
any-
That's not.
It's not his game.
I mean, not speak out. You can go and have a quiet word with the manager, but to speak out, which I'm suggesting Dick is meaning go to the press or say something of the sort. No, I'm never in favour of that.
Plenty of people have been speaking out on his behalf.
Yep.
Should he join that chorus?
No, that's
Privately.
not his job. However, if Sarri were to come up to him, or anybody in the club were to come up to him and say something along the lines of, "We need more productivity out of you in the final third," at that point you say, "You know what? See, no, I'm the best defensive midfielder in the world, and you have me playing out here as some sort of inverted right winger, some sort of position that." It's not my best. This is not what I do best. This is not where I can maximize my potential. That's your fault. It's not mine.
He's no need to say anything, has he? I mean, everybody in the world knows where he should be playing.
Right.
The one guy that doesn't realise that it's a gaffer.
Yeah.
And Sarri may pay the price over it.
Have there been any murmurings in France, Julian, about N'Golo Kante's mental state at the moment, or his willingness to speak out?
No, because that's not him. He will never do that in a million years. He would not even, I think, address it with Sarri. That's not his style. He will keep doing what Sarri asks him to do, and he will try to do it to the best of his ability. Sarri can ask him to play as a goalkeeper, and he would go and play as a goalkeeper and give his best. But him speaking out in the press or off the record for then his word or his point of view being still written, that will never happen. And again, I really don't think that he's the one knocking at the door of the manager and saying, "Can I have a word about my position?" That's not going to happen either. He's a soldier. He's a very good soldier. Even if he's not happy playing where he is, which is what I believe, he will still do it and will never confront anyone about it.
Mustafa, moving on, says, is Manchester City being in 4 competitions a good thing? I don't know why it wouldn't be a good thing, but...
I mean, say you're winning, right?
You're there to win trophies, aren't you?
Success is a good thing.
No, I mean, I guess the possible counterpoint would be, well, do they want to win the Champions League? Are other competitions going to be a distraction?
Yeah, but when you start rotating and thinking that, okay, I'm going to value this competition over the other, because you're underestimating the other competition doesn't guarantee that you're going to win what you consider to be the big one. So this is when managers, in this case Pep Guardiola, will earn his money and see, okay, where can I rotate? Where can I put my players? But the truth is that for Manchester City, even when you rotate, you still have a very good team out on the field.
Yeah.
That's, you know, the billions that we were talking about earlier, that's when it helps to have those billions.
Pep's going to earn his money this weekend when they play Newport County
Massive
in
game,
the
massive
FA Cup.
Look, I think the most impressive thing about one of the most impressive things that Guardiola's done with that squad is to keep them right on point. When the games come, when the whistle blows, they're right on top of it. And we've seen recently where they've just blown teams away because teams have not been prepared correctly or they just didn't expect it. But I think that is a remarkable thing, what Guardiola's done with this group. He's got everybody on board. You know, Gabriel Jesus has stopped moaning now that Aguero's starting in front of him and Sané stopped moaning, and so on and so forth. And it seems that there's a great deal of togetherness. And yeah, they're in four competitions. The reason is because of his rotation, beautifully done by him.
Julian, history does show that it's tough, isn't it, to win the Champions League and the league title, let alone a couple of cups thrown into the mix too.
Yeah, that's right, but that doesn't mean he's not going to prioritize something, because he will at some point. Like the boys said, he will rotate, but his strongest team will always be in the league and in the Champions League, and then he will rotate for the domestic cups, and that might bring success or not. And I don't think he would have any regret. Well, he wouldn't want to lose games in the domestic cups, but the priority is and will always be probably even more the Champions League than, you know, if he could choose between winning the Champions League and the Premier League, I really believe he would go for the Champions League. So I would put that as the big priority. However, the league is also very, very, very important.
Right. The piercing question of the day comes from Stephen Cromwell. He simply needs to know, how loud does Xhaka snore? I don't know how we quantify that exactly.
What prompted this question?
What did prompt that question, Stephen?
It's your pre-show preparation, Shaka. It's thorough, and it's based on being well rested for the show.
It's thorough. It's very thorough. Absolutely, it is.
Well rested.
Needed a power nap.
Yeah.
Well, that was powerful enough.
Needed a little 5-minute power nap.
5 minutes. you lost track of time.
Is that what Chelsea did to you today for you to sleep?
5 minutes-ish power nap. Good for everybody. That was half-time. That was half-time of the game.
No.
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
It wasn't. No, it was not. It was the second half.
Early second
And
half.
Ali had on the clock, it was 25 minutes, you know.
It was half-time, I remember. Remember well.
Big plates of meat on the table as well.
Is there a Richter scale we can measure this
I don't snore.
level
No,
of
he
snoring?
doesn't.
I don't snore.
He's very, very clean.
Yeah.
You don't even know he falls asleep.
I'm a stealth power napper.
It was after those, what were those things we had?
Munchkins.
What are they called?
Munchkins.
Munchkins. I've never heard of them before, but they were great, weren't they? You loved them, didn't you, Big Man?
Well, you know, sort of some big hands, so munchkins.
Munchkins.
That was half-time as well. That was half-time too.
A lot of things happen at halftime.
Half-time. It's a long half-time.
Valentine's Day munchkins, which
Exactly.
Mr. Mariner gobbled up rather
Absolutely.
enthusiastically.
Shaka was there
I had a
too.
couple. I didn't go mad.
Our man needs a nap. We better
Another one?
better get out of here.
I'm tired.
Are you going to be able to sleep tonight?
I'm tired now.
ESPN FC available every day over on ESPN Plus.